Alright, what's up everybody? This is Jesse with Iowa Audio Review. Tonight we're going to look at this Crown XLS1000 I got off eBay used for, I think it was 120 bucks shipped. So, pretty good value for the money. I think that's why I'm going to talk about this briefly, just because you get a lot of power. You get a lot, we'll just say we get a lot for your money with this little guy. And I've noticed other people using it for home. It kind of made me curious to try one, because I currently use I have a Sony ESV333 that I've had for years and I like it, but I kind of want to try one of these because they're small. I don't even have that big of hands. They're small, lightweight. I say it weighs probably, I think it's like 10 or 11 pounds. It's built like a brick because it's Crown, it's high quality, it's good stuff. It's made very well. So I figured I'd get one of these and check it out and see if they really are suitable for the home, because I think they're 215 watts continuous and 8 ohms, which is a lot of power for such a small box. That's about double the power, well, at least in stereo, as the ES. So that's a lot of power. But I'm not going to go over all the specs. This thing's been around a little while, and if you want, I can put a link to Crown's website for this, for all the other specs. But we can briefly look it over. We'll power it up here. Alright, and then what you'll be running it in typically for home use would be stereo bypass. Stereo being amplifier mode, bypass being filter mode, I believe. Just show you quick here. You go and hold that down. You can go in amp mode and use these two to navigate. All this is to enable the channel 1 and channel 2 clipping. We go, okay, amp mode comes up, and you hit that again. Stereo, bridge, which is what a lot of people use these to power subwoofers in the house. And then your input Y is actually a crossover mode, where I think the left channel does high and the right channel does low. So if you could have this. I could have my Paradigm, the 9SEs here are I think they're biampable, biampable. I could have, we'll say the left channel power the tweeter, and the right channel power the woofers, and then I could control the crossover point in here once you select that mode. Well, then of course, then you need two of these, one for each speaker. But anyway, for most typical people, you're gonna run it in stereo mode, and then stereo, and then filter mode. If you hit that again, when you go into filter, there's bypass, which bypasses the filter, aka the crossover. Or then you can get into the low pass, and if you select that, then you can use these to adjust. I think you can adjust anywhere from 50 Hertz up to 3000 Hertz on the high and low pass, which is pretty cool. And then that's crossover mode. We're just going to run filter and bypass. We don't need it. We just want stereo. So it's basically that simple. And mine came that way. Whoever's using it was using it that way. So we'll take a jump around here. We'll power it off. Look at the back here. Now, first thing I noticed when I got mine is one of the reasons I bought it is because it's got the 5-way binding post here, and you can see they don't have any plugs in them now. But when I got it, if you bear with me here, I really got one free hand. Put this plug back in. When I got it, all 4 binding posts had these plugs in there, and I didn't look into it too much, and no one else really seemed to mention it. What? I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to use my banana plugs in here? And I just assumed, like, those got to come out of there, because I've seen pictures online where they're not in there. So I just found if you can see here. Oops. Let me put it in my hand here. I just went and got a wood screw and just put it in this small hole here and kind of screw it in a little bit, and whoop, pops right out. And once you do that, then your banana plugs will fit in there. I'm not sure why Crown puts those plugs in there. Probably some sort of safety reason, I'm assuming. Then there's your AC, or your power outlet. And we'll just Well, here, let me turn it around. So we're looking at normal. Obviously your power, reset, and then I think these are speak-on connectors for your pro audio speakers, or what DJs would use. Then you got your 5-way binding posts, which is nice for home use. Then move it across, fan, which I've used this quite a bit, and I don't think the fan's ever really turned on. If it does, it's really quiet. 1/4 inch connections, balanced XLR, and then your RCAs. And I seen this, I'm like, oh, I got RCAs and I got 5-way binding posts. I could actually use this in the house. And here's this where the video kind of comes in. Is this thing really any good for home use? The answer is yes and no. It depends what you want to do. The second thing I ran into, which I didn't really come across it much in the forums or anything, like, it didn't jump out at me, and I think more people would mention it because it's kind of the deal breaker with this thing, is like a typical consumer CD player, your computer, laptop, phone, about anything in your house you're going to be plugging into those RCAs on the back are not going to have enough input gain for this thing. It'll work, but I couldn't find exactly, but like typically like a CD player like this, or a cell phone, or a lot of other household electrical devices are only going to have roughly around, I think, 0.775 to maybe 1 volt RMS. I think it's output gain or line level gain or somewhere, something like that, which is not enough for this. It'll work, this will make sound, it'll get pretty loud, but it will not get as loud as it should. And I kind of run into that when I ran a CD player to it. You could turn these knobs up and, it'd get pretty loud, but I'm like, that's, I have an idea of what 200 watts continuous is, and it definitely wasn't that. So, okay, what's going on? If you dig into Crown, they recommend on the RCA inputs to have a source that's at least a 1.4 volt input gain or line level gain, which is what most pro audio equipment runs at. So if you're running a mixer or other DJ pro audio equipment to this, it'll be fine. But when you hook something like this to it, it does not have that much output gain. So then comes in, you got to buy a line level booster, something to boost that signal from your CD player or whatever else. Like, even I ran the RCAs from my Sony CD player here to my ES receiver, out the pre-outs on this, and then back over to the Crown, which is nice because then you're going to set these to their max level and control the volume of it with your, basically, a preamp. Problem is, even this, the pre-out is at most only like 1 volt RMS. So even running it through there is not going to get this thing enough input juice to get as loud as it's supposed to. So really all you can do is there's things like the Arc Cleanbox Pro, which is you can use it to convert balanced to unbalanced or vice versa, but it also has a signal gain where you'd run it out of your CD player into the Arc Cleanbox, out of the Arc Cleanbox into this, and then these knobs you'd set all the way to their max most likely, and then there's a little volume knob on the Arc Cleanbox you can control the volume with. That's what I originally did. It didn't work for me. I don't want to have this little box with running wires out of my CD player into that, out of that, into this, and no. So, I mean, you can use other things. I think Behringer makes a few different things you can use to boost your signal. And I'll link a few things in the description you can use as a signal booster, because it works. Once you do that, it works just fine. It's just I don't want to control the volume of this thing from some little black box with a little teeny volume knob on it. So in my case, I tried it, and mostly for that reason is why I'm not going to continue to use it, because I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it that way. If you move on to the later model, the XLS1002, they built it into the menu. You can go and change the input sensitivity. I can't remember what they call it, but anyway, in the XLS1002, you can change it so you can either have a 0.775 line level, input voltage, whatever, and in that case, CD player, household stuff will work fine. Or you can change to the 1.4 and use it for pro audio. So for me, the deal breaker is I don't want to run some separate line level booster to get this thing to start pumping out the juice that it can. The whole reason I bought it, because I like to listen to my music loud. Not that the ES doesn't get loud enough; it gets plenty loud. That leads me into the second reason another reason I bought the Crown is I've always had receivers, or we'll just say I've mostly always had Class AB amplifiers, and I'm fine with them. Some of them are better than others, etc. This is, I believe, a Class D. It's a little bit different scenario. So I wanted to try it out and see if I like the sound. And so far, to me, for my listening taste, I still prefer the sound of my Sony ES over this. Not that this has bad sound. It's really good, nice, clean, great sound. But to me, and it might just be because I might have a preference to it because I've had Sony amplifiers and receivers and even this ES for a couple of years, I might have developed a preference to its sound. It just has a little bit warmer sound to me. A little bit just smoother, warmer sound. Where this is very precise and detailed. It is really good. Which is fine. But that is too, but it's got a touch of warmth to it to me. So that's my preference. But, I mean, again, comes down to what you want to do with it. It can be used in the home if you want to run something to kind of boost that signal. If you're fine with that, no problem. I think even some people use headphone amplifiers to feed this thing its signal. And other than that, this would be good for small areas because it's so much power in a small package. It's well built, and as long as you can find a way to feed it, it'll do you wonders. But in my case, I think I'm gonna pass on it and wait until I can get an XLS1000 II, and then not have to worry about it. But other than that, I don't think there's really a whole lot of other things. It was just the one main thing with these is that gain. And I really wish Crown would have addressed it. Even just maybe put a switch on the back on this one where you could just change that input or line level input. But that's pretty much it. I mean, if you have one of these and you figured out a better way to get it signal, or if you found a really good way of getting it signal, because whatever you feed it signal with that boosts it, you're going to probably need a volume level. I mean, you can use these to control the volume. It's just kind of annoying because you got to you usually want to make sure they're the same so one speaker's not louder than the other. But other than that, I think that's it. Good night, everybody.